Black Christmas 2019 is the worst film I've ever seen. This movie is a big piece of shit. It's really stupid, I must admit. Ho, 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 this movie blows. Ho, 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 this movie blows. Run from this movie, quick, quick, quick. This fucking movie can suck my... Black Christmas 2019 is the second remake of the 1974 cult classic horror film, also titled Black Christmas. And this remake stars Imogen Poots and Carrie Elwes. A sorority house of girls is on Christmas break when they start getting weird texts from a creepy stalker, and it turns out the frat guys might have something to do with it. Alright, I'm going to really quick talk about the first two. The first one I really like. I just rewatched that recently. That movie holds up really well. There's very few similarities between this movie and, honestly, either of the other two movies. This movie is Black Christmas in name only, and I'll get to that. But this original movie is directed by Bob Clark, who did A Christmas Story a decade before. Yes, there's a tie there. And it is really well done. It pioneered a lot of the slasher genre. It started the slasher genre really even before Halloween. It just didn't popularize it. Halloween and Friday the 13th did. But a lot of the things that you see in slasher movies later are in this movie, including the POV of the killer shot that Halloween also did and admittedly did better. That is my favorite horror film. But this movie did inspire my favorite horror film, and in its own right is really good. Also, it's the first slasher movie to take place on a holiday. That, of course, Halloween did, and then several other slasher movies did in the 80s after Halloween. So it's pretty cool. It pioneered a lot. Watching this movie, you never see the killer, and they only use shadow and POV shots for when the killer's around, and phone calls. There is a similarity between this and the remake I'll get to. And it's really well done. As far as the 2006 remake, it's a fine slasher movie. It's diverting. I actually like it better than the first time I saw it. I remember it being kind of forgettable, but watching it again, and maybe it helps that I just watched this train wreck of a movie. Possibly. But that movie is a passable slasher movie. It's not for non-horror fans, certainly. But if you like horror, if you like really gory kills, they really play up the whole Christmas angle. Like, every single kill in that movie is Christmas-related in some way. And you know what? That's the crazy, I guess, fun that you can have watching a horror slasher movie like this. Horror fans understand this. I get this isn't for everyone, but hey, this is a genre I love, so I'm just saying. This is something I need to preface, that these movies are different. They're way better. They're about a killer named Billy, first of all. Billy is not in this movie at all. That is fine. You want to do your own thing, fine. If that's your problem with this movie, wow, you had an easy time watching this movie, because holy actual crap. But I'm going to go through this movie. My positives, don't worry, that won't take long. Through my negatives, from the most tolerable to the holy dumpster fire that is in this movie. So, let's begin. So yes, there are a few similarities in this movie that I thought they did decently well in modernizing. I mean, the similarities are sorority house, there's a killer, or multiple killers. Actually, the remake had multiple killers. There are very few similarities, like I said. This movie is basically Black Christmas in name only. In fact, I actually read that the director wanted to make a feminist horror movie, but Blumhouse was like, okay, you can do whatever you want, but you have to make it a Black Christmas movie because we own the rights. So, it's freaking stupid. So that's why we have a new Black Christmas remake instead of generic, forgettable slasher movie named killer movie. But fine. Okay, so it's Black Christmas. So the only similarities that are in this movie are it's a sorority house that's being attacked by someone. There's, instead of phone calls like in the original, and the remake, they're getting creepy phone calls where this killer's like a mouth breather and he's saying really creepy stuff like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna crush your skull, or whatever, really demented stuff, and way more pervy than that. That stuff is really creepy and really well done in the original, and not as well done in the remake, but it's effective enough. The best stuff in that is the actual horror and the creepy eyes and stuff like that. There's creepy eyes in the shadows you constantly see. It's oh, that's in the background. Good job on that one. None of that's in this movie. Don't worry. They don't bother making a scary movie. Oh, the other thing is it's on Christmas break. Those are the only similarities. Now, okay, now that I talked about the similarities to the original, I'm going to talk about the positives, and we're going to just go through the negatives from least painful to the holy dumpster fire that is in this movie, because, wow, this movie. Imogen Poots and Carrie Elwes are both trying. They are. The material they get is so bad, and we'll get to that. But they are trying. Carrie Elwes is a good actor. She's a good actress. They are legitimately trying to perform and make this film work, and you can tell, and it's not like those two in particular, if they had better dialogue, wouldn't be painful to watch. It's the dialogue that makes them painful to watch. But I don't hate either of them. They're great in other movies. Of course, you know, The Princess Bride for Carrie Elwes, and I would really recommend checking out Green Room for Imogen Poots. She's fantastic in that movie. There are good movies that she is in that I really like. But this ain't one of them, fam. As far as just being a horror film, it's shot very, like, generically. There's no real, like, uniqueness in the filmmaking or anything. That wouldn't be so big a problem if it didn't telegraph every time a scare was going to happen. There's several shots where one of the girls is in the forefront of the screen and there's darkness behind her, like in a corner, and she's kind of like to the side of the frame. I mean, come on, we know that that darkness in the corner is really a person, and there's like one scene in particular where she's like taking apart Christmas lights and she's trying to find the ones that work, and she's like plugging each one in, and it's like, oh, they don't work, you know. And she finally gets the one that worked, and of course, as soon as it gets, there's one of the guys there with the mask on, and she gets murdered. Several other things like that. Everything is so telegraphed in this movie. There is no subtlety. There's no suspense. It's all so obvious. I'm going to get to why I'm saying this later, but it feels like they cared more about the script and the message they wanted to make in this movie than actually making a scary horror film. It's almost like they forgot, oh yeah, we're making a horror movie. Maybe we should make this scary, but they didn't succeed in making it scary. Also, the score is really generic. A good horror score can really help emphasize the horror in your movie. Actually, a good score in general can help emphasize the film in general. But it's really forgettable. I can't think of a single theme, nothing. It's just very generic. Like, God, I can't even remember the score. That's how forgettable it is. So, it's really bad. Like, there's nothing really good on the technical side. Nothing really stands out on the technical end. It's all pretty bland. This movie would just be kind of a forgettable horror movie if it wasn't for some of the other things in this movie. There's nothing that stands out even as a horror movie, and oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to get to this little bit here. This is a PG-13 slasher movie. Now, I'm not one of those horror fans that's like, oh, you can't make PG-13 horror. No, of course not. You can make great PG-13 horror. There's several. Conjuring. There are movies from the 70s and the 80s that maybe were PG because there was no PG-13 at the time. But Jaws, Poltergeist, Gremlins, all be PG-13 now. Those are all great horror movies. Or horror comedies in the case of Gremlins. But the point is, you can absolutely make really effective ones. The Ring! That's an amazing horror movie. PG-13. Really atmospheric. Really creepy. Doesn't need all the gore and all the, like, stuff that makes a movie R-rated. But a slasher movie, a little different. Now, apart from Happy Death Day and this movie called The Final Girls, which are both slasher comedies that parody the slasher genre, hence why you maybe don't need the gore as much necessarily, although it does work. You don't need it necessarily in those movies, but in a genuine slasher movie, you want it. Like, it helps. Or at least, like, some brutal level of brutality to the kills. You want to see the deaths. Every single time someone dies, except maybe the first kill, I guess we don't cut away from that one. It cuts away before we see it. Or we see the aftermath of the kill. And that wouldn't be bad once or twice. Like, oh, that's creepy, we see her later, and oh no, like, she's like mangled or whatever. But the aftermath is just them sitting there like, oh, they're dead. No gore, nothing, no sign of what killed them, they're dead. This is a horror movie! Guys, come on! We come to watch horror. We come to be scared. We come to be, like, grossed out and in suspense. That's why people watch these movies. That and good characters, but let's get to that later. Hold off on that. But, I mean, come on. Even in, like, a bad slasher movie, I can think of moments where I was like, you know what, this movie's really dumb, but there's a couple fun moments. Like, some of the bad Friday the 13th movies, like Jason Takes Manhattan, it's not a good movie at all, but there's at least some moments that I legit remember from that movie of Jason just killing people. I'm not saying this is high art, it's exploitative, but it's horror. I even found out, apparently this movie was supposed to be R-rated. They filmed it as an R-rated movie, and honestly, you can tell at times, not just with the kills, but with some of the lines. It's not only are the kills so light, but clearly you can tell they were editing around stuff, but they even have people saying, like, suck my, you know, where someone's gonna say dick, and they just cut out them saying dick. And it's painfully obvious when they do this. But I guess to get to a wider female audience, she wanted to edit it down to PG-13 in the editing room. By the way, I forgot to say the director's name at the beginning. It is Sophia Takal. She has done nothing else. But again, it gets worse than this. This would just be like forgettable slasher movie. Okay, 2 stars, maybe 1.5 stars, really dumb, boring. Now it is finally time for me to get into the meat of this movie. Why I hate this movie so freaking much. So, I haven't spoiled this movie yet. If you've seen the trailer, you know what happens in the movie, except for the craziness at the end. You don't know the half of that. But you know the basic, you know the reveal of who's the killer if you've seen the trailer. This trailer spoils everything. But even if you see this movie, it's really painfully obvious. However, if you are interested in seeing this movie at all, don't. But if you're interested in, please don't see it in theaters. But if you are going to see it, you might want to check out this video now. Obviously, I do not recommend this movie even a tiny little bit. I hate this movie so much. Okay, you guys still with me? Alright, let's go. Now, okay, I have to preface this next part, because I'm going to go through the movie and all its problems with saying this movie tries to tackle something extremely serious, extremely horrible. It tries to tackle the Me Too movement, rape on college campuses, people not being listened to when they come and accuse someone of rape and assault. Those are very serious topics. Those are very horrible things that happen. They are disgusting. I am not in any way belittling how serious those topics are when I criticize this movie. I'm only criticizing the delivery of said topics. Okay, you with me so far? Let's go. Also, I'm not saying don't do politics and horror. Hell, horror has a long history of doing politics, social fears, whatever was in the zeitgeist at the time, and putting them in horror movies and kind of either doing it in a way to relieve the tension or help people face those fears in a kind of safe way watching a movie, or just to kind of talk about it, but do it in an intelligent way. Hell, the original Black Christmas dealt with feminist issues. There's another similarity between that movie and this movie. However, where that movie did it in a very intelligent way, where it wasn't condescending. It wasn't even the main focus. It was a focus inside the movie, but the main focus was still, it's a horror movie first and foremost. Let's make these characters, let's make this film scary, and yes, let's put some feminist stuff of the time in this film. But it's not condescending, and it doesn't insult literally half of the audience. You might see where I'm going with that little hint. But let's keep going. Because this remake is the exact opposite of that movie. Every single last character in this movie is a one-dimensional talking head SJW talking point in this movie. Honestly, this movie may as well have been written by Twitter. It honestly feels like someone took a bunch of tweets from Twitter and a bunch of Twitter conversations, mixed them all up, put it through a fax machine, and out came a script. That's this movie. Every line of dialogue is a message being slammed into your brain like a sledgehammer hitting you in the face. This movie was written by Twitter. If you only took tweets from the stereotypical extremist SJW feminist, you know what I'm talking about. One that really isn't a feminist, the man-hating one, the all men are pigs, because, yeah, I shouldn't prolong this any longer. I'm going to get into why that's the message of this movie. Every man on the planet is crap. We're all monsters. That's the message that is put in this movie. And I'm not one of those people who, one, goes on the internet and sees, like, this man did something horrible and then feels the need to type, hey, not every man is like this. Like, obviously, most people know this. Most people are aware of this. They're just talking about this guy, and that's 100% okay. Because that guy is a piece of shit. Or the people that don't believe that and actually do think all men are monsters, well, guess what? You're not going to convince them by writing that comment. You're not. You're not. All you're going to do is just going to, I don't know, they're going to laugh. They're going to roll their eyes. They're going to say, see, another crybaby male, like, whatever. You're not helping anyone. It's not like they're going to see that comment and go, oh, my whole worldview has changed because this one random dude on Facebook said, not all men are rapists. It doesn't help anything. However, I have to talk about it in the context of this movie because they do say that in this movie. That is the message of this movie. The message is not listen to people, believe them, and, you know, fight against the other, toxic males or whatever. If you're a dude, hey, call out your friends. If one of your friends does something, don't protect them. Don't stand by them. Be like, hey, that crossed the line. I'm calling you out on your shit. There's no subtlety in this movie, guys. It's overt. Everything about this movie is overt. They want you to get it. That is, every single line is overt. There is no, misconstruing. There's no, I'm misreading what the movie's trying to say. Oh, I'm just, being a little sensitive to something. I just misunderstood what the movie was trying to get across. There's no misunderstanding this movie. So let's get into what I mean. Fortunately, I was the only one in the theater when I went to see this movie, so I got to take a few notes and write down some of the lines. I had kind of had an inkling from a few reviewers that I trusted that this might go this way, so I was like, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to write down a few things. So the main crux of this movie is that this university was created by a man named Calvin Hawthorne. And he was this racist, sexist guy in the 1800s, and he still had a bust of his head in the hallway. So, yes, political point number one right there. Honestly, you could almost do a tally, but I'm not going to bother. SJW talking points, but there you go. That's one right there. So they have this bust in the hallway, and these women want to get rid of it. So they have everyone sign a petition or whatever. They get rid of it. It ends up being just taken to the frat guy's house. So the frat guys have this bust. Well, it turns out, I can't even say this without laughing. Calvin Hawthorne was this guy who was apparently not only a racist and a sexist, but he was also into the dark arts. He was into black magic or Satanism or whatever. They don't really say. He was just into black magic or some evil magic he was into. And apparently, he put this spell on the bust of his head because he knew in a couple hundred years that women were going to rise up. And he needed to make sure he put this stuff in the head so that he could possess the men at the campus to rise up and kill the women who stand up against the patriarchy. I am not kidding, that's the plot. There's nothing subtle about this movie. That's the whole crux. So that's why this fraternity of guys, yes, it's the whole fraternity, is killing these women because they are possessed. Let's get into a bit more of this. So this movie starts off with a quote, which I had to look up to see if it was at least a real quote. I knew this Calvin guy wasn't real. I almost want to call him Calvin Hobbes. This guy isn't real. But this quote, and I unfortunately wasn't able to write down the whole quote because it went by too fast, but I got the gist of it. And it was essentially, men possess supernatural strength, and they created society so that they could suppress women. That is the quote. It's basically already literally starting off with a made-up quote saying, men suck. Oh boy. Now, at that point, raising my eyebrows, but I'm not already on the, oh shit, I'm going to hate this movie. It gets worse. At this point in the movie, I'm like, yeah, I expected a little bit of this, fine, whatever. But I heard this gets worse. Let's see how bad this gets. Actually, sorry, I just looked at my notes from yesterday. This is the other part of the quote that I did actually write down. Men built culture as a defense against female culture. Really? Really? Okay, so we get to a class, and Carrie Always is talking about gender. Oh boy. And he is the guy that's trying to, they're trying to get rid of him. He's like the next guy, because he wanted to keep the bus, so now the women have turned on him, or the SJW women. I should be fair, very specific here. These SJWs have turned on him. And so they want to get rid of him and fire him because he's sexist or whatever. And he talks about it in class, and he's like, and it's kind of awkward that he talks about it in class already. But he literally says in the line, now I want to preface this, he is the leader of this cult of fraternity guys. So this is supposed to be the line that, he's an obvious red herring, but really he's also the dude. So, there are no covert meetings where men discuss about how to bury women. Subtle. Now, in another horror movie, that wouldn't be so bothersome. It would have been like, oh, that's funny because he's really the killer. Ha ha ha. Like, if this was a comedy, that's like a line you would hear in Scary Movie or Cabin in the Woods or something. Something like along those lines. Like, oh, it's funny because he's actually the killer. Like, that's, I get it. I get what you're doing. Or, that's a great red herring. That's he's totally the killer. No, he's not. He's not really. He has nothing to do with this. Like, they set him up as the obvious red herring. But because this movie's so stupid, it's really obvious that he's the guy. So I don't even know. Like, honestly, I picked up that he was the guy. In a better movie, I would have gone like, he's the red herring. But I was already like, alright, I'm pretty sure this guy is the killer. Like, there's scenes later where he's at the frat house and stuff, and there's the amazing scene where Imogen Poots is walking through the frat house, because they do a little show at the frat house where they parody Up on the Housetop, hence my intro. And she's basically like walking through, seeing all this stuff, and it's every single cliche of a frat house that you could think of. It's, you know, the hazing ritual, which is obviously the actual ritual to possess the guy, to make him want to kill women. It's, you know, there's someone who almost gets raped. And again, if you're trying to get that message, put that in. Yes, that's a good scene to have in there. It makes sense. But again, let's get to it. That's a little bit more. Let's keep going. But I just have to bring up that this scene is so cliched. It is hilarious how bonkers cliched this scene is. By the way, this movie's going to start sounding like it's a satire. But I just want to preface this. I've looked up this director and read interviews from her. She is dead serious about this movie. She is like, I wanted a good message. I wanted to talk about these topics seriously and really have an empowering, fiercely feminist movie. So she is not making a joke. This is not like some parody. Because honestly, this movie gets so crazy. It's like a parody I could see someone doing on YouTube, like to kind of parody SJWs and be like, oh, what would it look like if they made a slasher movie? Oh, probably something like this. All the men are evil and they're killing women because they're men. Like, that's a joke in a parody video. But in this movie, it ain't no parody. This is their message. So, yes. So, of course, we go through all the talking points you can possibly think of. Some of the girls start disappearing, so Imogen Poots goes to the campus security, and he doesn't believe her because she's a woman, and she must be hysterical, and all this stuff. And he even actually says the line, boys will be boys. Well, no, I should preface that. He says, boys will be, well, you know. Can I ask, by the way, real quick, this is a side note, when the hell did Boys Will Be Boys become a defense of rape? When I was a kid, parents would say Boys Will Be Boys when we would play like Star Wars or Cops and Robbers. When the hell did Boys Will Be Boys become, oh, they're just raping again, Boys Will Be Boys? Like, whose disgusting idea? Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off topic. Let's get back to this movie. Just, that is really stupid. And we get to this scene later on, after all this kind of stuff is going on, you know, they did this show to kind of call out this one dude who did rape Imogen Poots. That's the one character who has any backstory in this movie. Is she was assaulted a year ago, and the guy's back visiting his college frat house for whatever reason. We don't know why, but he is. And I guess because of the ritual, I guess that's why. So that's why they sing the parody of Up on the Housetop at this frat house to kind of do a middle finger to this guy. And at that point in the movie, I'm all for that scene. That'd be a great scene in a better movie. And I was still in the scene being like, yes, screw this guy. This guy is obviously a piece of shit. You know, great empowering scene. Like, yeah, totally. And this is also how they figure out that they're being harassed by the fraternity guys, or at least one of the guys. They only think it's one because, you know, that'd be rational. But no, it's all of them. But whatever, that's fine. Again, not a bad idea for a horror movie. And this is, of course, what leads into the DMs and them believing that this is why they're being harassed by the fraternity guys and all of this in the DMs. After a while, it does kind of try to become a horror film. The frat boys attack. There are some scenes of people getting killed. Again, all off screen. Don't worry, there's no actual horror in this horror movie. Because God forbid you put horror in a horror movie. That's so weird. Why would you want scary stuff in your horror movie? I can't imagine why you would want that. So we find out, of course, this fraternity of guys is possessed by this Calvin Hawthorne's like spirit or whatever the hell, and they are killing these women because they're rising up against the men at the campus. What happens is Imogen Poots ends up at the frat house. She gets captured and she's tied up. Harry always shows up. They're all wearing the robes and the masks and stuff. There's this back and forth where he does the most sloppy, horrible exposition I've ever heard in my life. This is the worst. This is a cartoon, but it's a cartoon that's played for serious. So I don't even know. Again, this should be a comedy. This should be a wonderful horror comedy, but it's not. So, throughout this movie, there are two guys, and I'll get to them later, that aren't a part of the frat house, that aren't dicky guys. One of them kind of acts like a dick in like one scene, but they aren't like the horrible stereotype of men. The frat guys represent the men are pigs stereotype, okay? But they start getting migraines throughout this movie, and it's like, oh, why are you getting migraines? And they start acting a little different when they get the migraine. So, turns out what's going on is this bust is sending out signals to every male on campus, giving them migraines to, as Carrie Elway says, bring them to the frat house where they will put the black man on their forehead, and that will help bring out their true manly self, which is to kill women. He says that in this movie. He says, I want to repeat, that a man's true self, deep inside of them, every man, is the desire to harm women. Don't think you can get more blatantly sexist than that shit. Oh wait, they do! After a little bit more banter, the worst, most disgusting, sexist line in this entire movie gets said. And it is, Imogen Poots says to Carrie Elwes, "You're all insane." To which Carrie Elwes responds, "Not insane, just men." Not insane, just men. I can't make this shit up if I try. Again, it is not played as a joke. If it was played as a joke, fine. If this was a comedy, then I would have gone like, oh shit, that's hilariously awful. But oh my god. Like if it was obvious it was meant to be silly, and don't take this movie seriously, we're not actually saying this, but it was meant to be a message movie, a serious message, so like, you can't take it any other way. This movie is sexist. It is. That is horribly sexist. It is not satirical. That is exactly what you would say if you were making an SJW makes a horror movie skit. Something horrible like that. But it's not. This is real life. This movie is actually saying every man is secretly insane. They just need something to bring their murderous, horrible, violent rage outside of them so they can hurt women. What in the hell are you doing, movie? The message, like, if you want to make a message to say, women, be careful, there's a lot of pieces of crap, and don't ever be quiet about anything that happens to you. Never shut up about it. Go out and say, tell people. Don't let someone get away with something like that. Perfect message. All on board for that. If you want to put in that movie, hey, dudes watching this, don't ever let your male buddies, just because they're your friends or your classmates or whatever the hell, or they're in your dorm, get away with something like that. If you have an inkling that this happened and you can help prove it, say something. If you can back up someone who's claiming this guy assaulted her, say something. That would be again, perfectly good message. But it's literally saying, it doesn't matter what you do, men. You're all evil. You're all monsters. That is the message of this movie. I'm not reading into this. They literally say this. Okay, so now I'm going to get to the two men in this movie that aren't a part of the frat house. Because like I said, they're getting migraines throughout this movie, right? One of these dudes is a boyfriend of one of the girls who ends up getting killed. And so there is this scene where he's finally had it with all the SJW being called a rapist every 5 seconds because, he's a man, and lumping all men into the same basket with pieces of crap men. Okay, he's finally tired of it. And he literally says, you know what? Why do you keep saying all men are rapists? Are you saying I'm a rapist? What the hell? I've never done anything, and you're just going on and on. And instead of being like, having a reasonable conversation, of course, much like the internet, they kick him out. And it's like, that's supposed to be the talking... That was my chair. I guess that's supposed to be the talking point, like, hey man, by the way, if you criticize this movie for being sexist, well, guess what? Screw you. We don't care. And I'm like, fine, I don't care either. You guys are sexist. But anyways, he comes back after the attack starts, because the attack, starts almost right after he leaves. And after they know about these guys that are walking in their house with masks and robes, and they don't know who they are yet. But they're going around with bows and arrows, which, by the way, bow and arrow in a slasher movie looks really stupid, unless you're Jason Voorhees, just saying. But anyway, so they're going around, and they're hiding. Now, the guy comes back, and now he's suddenly talking louder than normal. It's weird. He suddenly starts talking louder than he was previously, even when he was shouting over these girls, I swear to God. And he's like, hey, where's my girlfriend? I want to apologize. I was a total jerk earlier. Like, again, every line is like that. Imogen Poots, of course, tells him to shut up and that there's a killer in the house, which I swear to God, this is the next bit of dialogue, and this is what happens to the guy. In fact, I'm going to reenact the scene. Alright, I had to slash a little bit so I can be in frame, but essentially, this is exactly what he says in this scene. I'm not kidding. What? There's a killer in the house? It's okay, I'll protect you, woman. Where are you, killer? I am a man, and I must protect these women, because I am a man. Blah! He gets shot right, of course, as he says that. And he comes back as the stereotype of the chauvinistic male that's gonna fight off the bad guys. And yes, that is a trope in slasher movies. Sure, there are slasher movies that do that. But it's never that friggin' blatant with the dialogue. It's usually like, alright, I'm gonna go get this asshole. No, don't go out there. No, I got this. Alright, you pussy Jason, come on, get me. Where are you? Oh, crap. Die. Yes, it's not that far off, but come on, that dialogue is too on the nose. Where now it's like, okay, now you're just getting annoying about it. Like, what the hell? Oh, and then the other guy. Okay, so throughout this movie, there's this kind of geeky guy. Seems like your upstanding guy in every way possible. He doesn't do anything wrong. He is trying to ask Imogen Poots out. And I get that the idea might have been she's not ready to date, so that's why she's not saying yes to this guy. Fine. And he is really awkward. But instead of just being like, either saying that or whatever, or just ignore him, she like invites him over and stuff, but then in literally the next scene, he comes to talk to her and she's acting all creeped out or whatever. The only context really for that is she had just gotten some DMs, and like the next second she sees him, and he's like, hey, how's it going or whatever, and she's like, were you DMing me? And he's like, I don't have your number, do you want me to DM you? It's like, okay, you're just assuming about this guy. Fine, whatever. That's not so bad because that's at the beginning. But here's where it really gets bad. What happens with this character is after all these attacks comes, Imogen Poots, she figures it out on a car ride. She puts it all together. It makes zero sense. But sure, she puts it all together. She leaves the car. She goes on her own to go fight these fraternity guys. She looks bloody. She's beaten up. And this guy sees her and starts passing her. By the way, this guy is a moron. He is completely oblivious to everything in every single way. Because right here, he's like, whoa, are you okay? Like, do you need some help? And then she's walking past him, she's ignoring him, but then as soon as he says, can I help you? She turns around and creepily looks, you want to help? Cut to, at the fraternity, this guy doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't tell him about what's going on. She doesn't tell him, hey, these fraternity guys, they're probably psychopaths, so be careful. Don't let them know you're sneaking around, but I need you to sneak in there and find out if they're doing something. No, she's just like, hey, can you go in there? Like, can you go in and distract those guys? He's like, and she never says why. He's just like, okay. He never asks why either. Like, what a dumbass. Again, I wouldn't mind this in the comedy context or in a way where there were other normal guys that were actually three-dimensional, or it's just the characters were three-dimensional themselves. But they're so one-dimensional that it's insulting, so all you have are the stereotypes of dumb men and asshole, pervy man-pigs men. Man-bear-pigs, maybe. I don't know about that one. I almost said man-pig, and I realized what I said. I wish there was a man-bear-pig in this movie. So she sends this guy in, completely unaware as to what the danger is, what's going on. He could have died. Instead, he gets turned. And this is when that line comes in. This goo will bring out the true nature of your manhood. The nature to harm women who stand up against men. That is so stupid and so irresponsible of a message. If that's actually your message, you're shit. But the point of bringing those up is literally both of the guys who are trying to help these women are thrown to the lambs. They're the stereotypes of stupid, dumb males. So it's like this movie, like what is the message it's trying to get across? Yes, there's a good message in here about standing up against your harassers. Again, 100% behind that. There's great horror movies that do that. The Scream franchise does that. Go watch those movies. They're way better. They also don't insult men. But this movie, it's like, what is the other message you're saying there? You're basically saying all men are pigs, or if they're stupid, women, use that stupidity to your advantage, but don't tell them what's going on. And stupid men, they're disposable. They can be thrown to the lambs. So it's almost like the message of the movie to men is, don't help women. Because both men get screwed to get murdered or turned into an evil male if you help women. And it'd be one thing if they warned them, or if this was like a tragic moment, like, oh crap, like one guy that was helping us is dead now. But no, it wasn't. They don't care. It's just shrugged off. Like they are disposable. So, I don't know. It's like the message is don't help women. That doesn't seem to be a good message either. my mind, but okay. This movie sucks, man. And admittedly, that guy does fight back against the goo, but he doesn't do anything once he's fought back. I think he hits one of the guys and that's it. I get they want to focus on the women. You don't have to shit on men while you do it. Also, another stupid line that I forgot about that I just have to share with you all. There's like, so these other sorority girls show up from this other house. It's very confusing the way they edited these two houses together. I literally forgot there were two different houses we're supposed to know about, I guess, by the end of the movie. But anyway, these other girls show up, and there's this huge Hunger Games-esque fight that ensues between the men and the women. And you can't tell what the hell's going on. It's edited so poorly. It's like you can't tell who the hell is being attacked, who the hell's dying. And it also doesn't help that they made all the frat guys look exactly the same, the stereotypical, like, big, muscular, jockey, blonde guys. Holy shit, I just realized. I guess that fits into their message. All men are the same, they even look the same. I just got that. Holy shit, this movie. But anyway, one of the jocks grabs one of the girls, and he's like, how do you want to die? Your body, your choice. Again, that's the kind of line I would put in some kind of an SJW parody video. But again, they're apparently trying to convey a real message, and this is meant to be like, I guess, taken seriously. Literally, I thought of this. The only thing they could have done to make their message even worse is if, like, so at the very end, she breaks the bust, and that's supposed to be like, now they've won, and there are still frat guys alive, and the building's on fire. Assumingly, they're not possessed anymore, but now the women run out and they lock the door, leaving the frat guys to burn to death. So, presumably, some of those frat guys might have been normal guys. We'll never know because we only see them as the evil possessed men. So they may have killed some innocent men. For all we know, who could have been dragged into it. We don't know either way. But, okay, fine. Let's say they're all evil, fine. So they win, right? The only thing I could think of that would be even worse is if they cut away, and instead of it all being done, turns out by destroying the bust, the power went out across the world. And now it cuts to, like, various men throughout the world suddenly getting migraines, looking up, being possessed, and then, like, turning on their wives or their daughters or their sisters or their mothers or whatever, and, like, killing them or beating them or something. That's like the one thing I could think of that would make this even worse. It's almost there, honestly. I'm surprised they didn't. It's that freaking bad. A good director and a good screenwriter could have made a solid message out of this movie that wasn't insulting, that actually was empowering, was like, hey, let's come together and fight the toxic people who do this horrible shit and not let people get away with harassment and rape anymore. But no, it's just men versus women. That is the movie may as well be called Men vs. Women. This movie is horrible. It's disgusting. I really am sad that people are seeing it. I hope it doesn't do any actual damage in anyone's mind. I hope no, like, young, impressionable kids see this and think, oh, all men are monsters. Now I'm going to be a sexist. I hope not. This movie there, well, could. I put this out there with God's Not Dead. Actually, I gotta say, God's Not Dead for a while was my most hated movie. This beats it. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. Because of the one fact that God's Not Dead, even though it really implies its message of everyone who isn't a Christian is shit, it doesn't literally say that in dialogue verbatim. I know that's not much, but that's what this movie does. So that's what makes it worse than God's Not Dead. This is a terrible movie that tried to have a good message, but screwed it up with all this man-hate BS and all this twisting of the message that muddles the message, and it just doesn't work. I hated every second of this movie. This movie is steaming hot pile of garbage. It's got an attempt at a good message, but it works with a horrible, disgusting look at that message. It's like the most base, dumbed down level look at a very complicated, serious topic. And it's all garbage. Everything about this movie is awful. This is my least favorite movie of all time. I hated it so much. And I'm going to give this 0.5 out of 5 stars. What a shock. But, you know, let's be honest, guys. Clearly, I'm only mad about this movie because I'm a male. And, you know, I'm just full of toxicity because I'm a man. And, you know, I just can't help it. I think I'm going to go manspread and go mansplain to some women. Maybe I'll go do some catcalling. Because apparently that's all... It's so stupid to think that, yeah, all men are just evil incarnate. Ow. Oh, shit. I just got this really bad migraine. Oh, shit. And this film stars Imogen Poots and Carl Weathers. Carrie Elwes, why do I keep doing that?